like a church, you know. So I was disoriented because Barry didn't come up in front of me. Oh gosh, Ann, that's a terrible thing to take through life. Let me begin this morning by thanking the Sodexo staff for the great breadth of service they prepared for us. They really do a wonderful job of supporting us here. They may do too good a job for a few of us. As always, I'd like to begin this morning by extending a welcome to the returning faculty. We've missed you this summer. And to the new faculty that are joining us for the first time. Hopefully, you've already experienced the warm hospitality that's so much a part of my colleagues here. Enjoy it. It'll continue as long as you're a part of this faculty. Of course, for many of you come, you never leave this faculty. You stay for a long, long time, and we're always pleased to see that happen. Let me take a couple of minutes and recognize a few of our colleagues for accomplishments and distinctions extending from last spring over the summer. To Meredith Love and Matt Nelson for receiving a $1.7 million competitive state grant to develop a Center for Excellence for College and Career Readiness. Thanks, guys. Well done. To Tammy Pulowski for being a semifinalist for the Riley's Institute Award for Excellence, which will be announced in October, and that's related to Tammy's fine work in our other Center for Excellence, our original Center for Excellence. Well done. To Joangela Edwins, the 2014 recipient of the prestigious Carrie McCrae Nicken Fellowship in Poetry, which is bestowed by the South Carolina Academy of Authors. Congratulations. To Jeanette Myers for the award of a $780,000 NASA grant. Jeanette, well done. To Derek Yokish for his joint faculty appointment, which he earned this summer with the Oak Ridge National Laboratory, a very, very distinct accomplishment. Nice job. To Shirley Bowsmith for her innovative work with Project Create and the Center for Exceptional Children in Philadelphia. Congratulations, Shirley. And to Ruth Whitman Price for a Nursing Veterans Transition Grant. Let's see, that's about a cool $500,000. Well done, Ruth. And to a couple of other dozen faculty members who published this summer, performed creative work this summer, or presented papers in regional, national, and international settings. We're all very, very proud of you. You know, I've said this many times, and I'll repeat it again. These accomplishments and everything else this faculty does, the research, the teaching, the service, you know, is a source of immense pride, not just on this campus, but across this community. You know, I boast about your accomplishments all over the state. I know it's led to a little bit of grumbling. Here comes Carter again. Bet he's going to brag on his faculty, which is marginally better than, here comes Carter again begging for money. Of course, our most generous donors have discovered that the two messages are related. That's why they're our most generous donors. By the way, I also want to mention the fine work that another colleague does on this campus in supporting the development of sponsored research. Thank you, Jane Madden, for your insight, tenacity, and commitment to this university and its faculty, and preparing so many grant proposals. Thank you, Jane. Before I move on, I also want to mention a couple of other accomplishments that occurred this past year. The work that the School of Business has done in taking our MBA online is extraordinary, especially when you consider how much of the curriculum was reformatted in such a short period of time. My compliments to Kay Bellinger, Barry O'Brien, and our other friends in business on the business faculty for a job exceptionally well done. We're proud of you guys. Nicely done. And let me provide a similar compliment to Shirley, Tracy, and the School of Education faculty who have moved most of their graduate courses online as well. Thank you very much for that effort. And finally, to Chris Johnson, my English colleagues, for the job they did last year in that very thoughtful and comprehensive revision to the English curriculum. We're all appreciative for the work you did and the accomplishments you've achieved. Thank you, guys. And finally, there's John Tuttle's work on the honors program. Curriculum development, recruitment of students and faculty. You know, I learned very early at this place that if you want a task done well, you give it to John. Unless, of course, it involves Ben Kyer. For the new faculty, we'll explain that to you in the fullness of time, or you may discover it early afternoon. Before I leave this topic, let me speak briefly about research and service support. You know, I really think that the funding for faculty research and development and real programs are now at healthy levels at this institution. But I continue to be concerned that we're not offering enough sabbatical opportunities for our faculty. So beginning next year and continuing for 2 consecutive years afterwards, we'll add 2 additional sabbatical slots annually. This means by 2017, we should have 10 sabbatical opportunities per faculty per year, 5 per semester. Let me say this, sabbaticals are a wonderful way to revitalize not only your teaching, but also your research. We're strongly committed here to sustaining sabbaticals, making sure that we expand them over time. And in 2 weeks, we'll announce the very next slate of trustee research scholars. So as my old friend Mark Sanford would say, stay tuned to this one. While some of you are away this summer, the General Assembly passed yet another budget, for which we're profoundly thankful. And once again, it turned out well for us. Among other things, our $2.2 million appropriation increase included funding for physician assistance program, general facilities renovation funding, roughly about $300,000, specific renovation support for Founders Hall and the Media Center, a very, very cold $1.5 million that mysteriously appeared in the very last phase of the appropriation process. And we received a nice package of technology support for the coming year. And of course, we continued our EIA support for the Center for Excellence for Children of Teacher of Poverty. Now, the Appropriations Act also provided 2% across-the-board pay increase. With institutional dollars, we were able to add an additional 1% for a 3% total raise. And I'm very, very proud to tell you, for the 7th consecutive year, this is the highest pay increase for any state entity in South Carolina. Listen carefully to this. A proviso in the Act does prohibit any increase in health plan premiums for you this year, but it does permit an increase in the amount of co-payments that you pay on specific procedures. I don't think we'll see those numbers from PEBA until about mid-September. For the new faculty, PEBA is our Public Employees Benefits Authority. This means our overall $50 million budget is comprised right now of about 80% salaries and benefits and about 20% operating costs. Of course, we're still struggling to mitigate the impact of those budget cuts, those budget reductions that occurred around the state between 2007 and 2011. Let me put this in perspective for everybody here. This year's state appropriation, not our total budget, but our state appropriation, is $11,250,000 $827,000. 10 years ago, it was $11,807,000. The good news is that we've recovered about $2.5 million more in recurring appropriations over the past 3 years. The bad news is that we have a long, long way to go to get back to that $16 million appropriation that we had prior to 2007. But we were very successful this year, and our cumulative appropriation of $2.2 million, recurring and non-recurring, is the highest among all the comprehensive universities in South Carolina. Now let me talk very briefly about private fundraising. We've also had another successful year, raising about $5.1 million this year, thanks in large part to Daryl Bridges and his staff. Daryl's doing a wonderful job. This brings our total fundraising over the past 15 years to $79 million. Frankly, this university couldn't survive without that support. Portia's money accrues to the net asset base of the foundation, Education Foundation, which, by the way, now is at $29 million. But the remainder goes to fund scholarships directly, provide match funding for faculty and institutional grants, and allows the acquisition of property and the construction and renovation of many of our facilities. Please understand the significance of these gifts. They represent the confidence that our philanthropists have in you, the members of this faculty, success you've had educating their children, and the work you do across the region. Make no mistake about this. People don't give you money simply because they think you look good or you're smart. And by the way, that's a very good thing for me. Benefactors give you money because they think you're capable of substantial accomplishments, and this faculty has proven that time and time again. That's why the dollars flow into this institution. Let's move on to talk about facility maintenance and renovation briefly. The crews are finished with the work in Hyman. We've just about completed the library work. The ventilation system is in the last part of that work, and that should be done over Christmas break. The renovation of offices and hallways has been completed in McNair and Leatherman. With the new appropriation this year, we should be able to start on the renovation of the individual classrooms. And Founders, phase 1 of the soundproofing is finished. Now we're concentrating on HVAC upgrading, painting, flooring, interior restrooms, door upgrades, and emphasis added, those damn elevators. The Faculty Technology Committee and John Dixon have been assessing a number of data management application systems at other schools across the state. They're presently sorting through the options. I got a preview the other day. I think this year our primary appropriation request will be for funding the acquisition of a new system. This will cost a minimum of $2 million initially, with another $300,000 annually to cover licensing and maintenance expenses. Obviously, we're going to need a little bit of legislative help, but I think we'll be successful in getting that done. For those of you who travel occasionally downtown, you may have noticed the Trust building is down. And the design phase for the Health Sciences facility is just beginning. Project's going well, and I hope we'll have building sketches to show to all of you by early fall. The rotation of 3rd and 4th year medical students has started, and the partnership among Carolinas, McLeod, USC, and FMU is working very, very well. Now let me talk about another subject, similar to this, but slightly apart. As the number of high school graduates in this state flattens, we continue to be attentive to the enrollment issues, and we continue to expand our recruitment efforts. This year we intensified our nursing RN to BSN advertising both here in Mount Pleasant, and the enrollment in this online course, this online program this fall will be double what it was last fall. We've also run extensive advertisements in the PD, Lowcountry, Midlands, selected upstate markets. Also includes a new TV spot highlighting the strengths of our liberal arts and professional programs and the capability of our faculty. I think you're going to like it when you see it. You'll probably identify a few familiar faces in the classroom. 10 days ago, we were pleased to receive an invitation from the president of the College of Charleston to offer courses cooperatively at their North Area campus in 2015-2016. He also indicated that they plan to develop a new campus within the next 3 to 4 years, and he invited us to consider participating in the development of that campus with them. That's a very, very generous invitation. The provost and I will explore the implications of this invitation with the leadership of the college over the next couple of months, and we'll come back and discuss it with the faculty leadership and the deans and chairs after we get more details. Frankly, this is the type of gesture we expected from the College of Charleston last year. We weren't successful in getting that gesture, but I hear there's been a number of changes there. Now let me shift the conversation from budgets and programs to higher education, policy, and politics. And let me get very, very serious for a second. Pick up any edition of the Chronicle, and you'll quickly realize that these are tumultuous times for our profession. Across the country, enrollment patterns are probably as volatile as they've been at any time for the past 30 years. Each week we see additional colleges closing, declaring bankruptcy, or seeking to merge with other institutions, usually institutions as bad off as they are. Unfortunately, the efforts on the part of the President and Congress over the past 3 years to reform college assistance processes, financial aid, have resulted in the neediest students facing the most insurmountable obstacles. Now, these aren't partisan comments. There's enough blame to go around on this issue. And their efforts have generally been well-intentioned in theory, but in practice, we've watched direct financial aid to students diminish and federal guarantees for student loans become increasingly convoluted and dysfunctional. And then there's our state. Pause briefly for laughter. Just look at higher education in South Carolina over the past few months. College of Charleston, USC Upstate, South Carolina State, Winthrop, and the Citadel have all been the center of recent political, financial, or legal controversies. Of our 10 public universities, six have changed presidents either last year or well this year. And two state universities will likely see 3 administrative changes within a period of 24 months. Is this coincidental? No, it's not. At a time when state funding for higher education is the lowest that it's been in decades, there are increasing calls for accountability, accessibility, and getting better returns for taxpayers' money. Well, now let me tell you something. We're all for accountability and accessibility. Our budgetary systems, our accounting systems, our procurement systems are the most visible in the state. Our programs are reviewed routinely by CHE, SACS, the various accrediting entities, and occasionally by the appropriation education committees of the 2 houses. Accessibility? Well, you want a polemic on that one? We're the most accessible university in South Carolina and probably the Southeast. Return on taxpayers' money? The legislature appropriates us $12 million a year. We generate another $43 million tuition and fees. We raise over $5 million privately, and we add another $2 million in grants. I think that the taxpayers get an enormous return on their investment in this university. So we all understand the problem. What are we going to do about it? This year, there will be a small group of college presidents working together, all of whom are committed to engaging the legislature very aggressively on behalf of all of higher education, to tell the story of our universities firmly and persistently, and to ask for dedicated and recurring sources of funding to restore the losses we incurred between 2007 and 2011. We plan to convey our concerns to the governor, the legislative leaders, and corporate CEOs across the state because, frankly, that's who has the most to gain from a higher education presence in South Carolina. Look, this may take a couple of years, but I'm confident we'll be successful eventually, provided we have fresh, creative ideas to make the case for replenishing this core funding. And please note, that core funding involves about $4 to $5 million recurring dollars that would allow us to do things that would take us a decade to do otherwise. In order to do this, I want your opinions. For 15 years, this faculty has offered thoughtful advice and guidance on any number of issues. I need to engage on this topic too. This is an offer I extend to you every year, and many of you take me up on it, so please come and talk to me if you have ideas or suggestions about this funding initiative, or if you just want to discuss your own teaching and research. But I also want to hear from the departments, and I want to hear from the schools. One important facet of building the case this year is promoting what the disciplines and professions do across the state and within their communities, not simply what higher ed does as a whole. Each of our individual programs on this campus, from professional writing to health physics to nursing to the arts, natural and social sciences and humanities and so on, contribute substantially to South Carolina's educational and economic well-being. So we need the schools and departments to help us refine those arguments to be bolder, more assertive, and more persuasive. Now, I want to conclude these remarks this morning with 3 statements of appreciation. First, I want to thank my friend Becky Flanagan, our faculty chairperson. Becky does a great job of representing you, but she also does a great job of representing me and the university. She's a great ambassador for FMU. On this lobbying initiative, I asked her to organize the chairpersons of the other 9 universities in South Carolina because the faculty voice will be an important part of the overall message. And she responded, as she frequently does with each of us, by bobbing her head, smiling, and saying simply, "Yeah, I think I can do that." Thanks, Becky. Next, I want to acknowledge once again the role that Rich Chapman plays in directing and managing the academic mission of this university. Waiting for a punchline? One of the most enjoyable things about my job is the unique partnership and friendship that I've enjoyed with my provost for the last decade and a half. I guess you could even say he's my superhero. Finally, I want all of you to know how much I appreciate what each of you do and the very, very professional way that you go about doing it. Your work continues to be an inspiration to our trustees, to this administration, and by the way, to all of our staff. Have you ever noticed how many of our staff work so hard to get their children into this institution to be educated by you? That's purposeful, and it represents the extent to which they hold you in enormous, enormous esteem. Time and time again, as I get involved in discussions with other presidents, the few of them that are left, about governance or administrative or budgetary issues, the conversation invariably turns to the question of faculty performance and faculty collegiality. And it frequently ends with them looking at me and remarking, "Well, Fred, if I only had a faculty like yours, don't I know it?" Thank